Thanks for tuning in to another installment of the COSIGN Conversations. Today we got a very special guest. Got my guy Maxie Taylor, CEO of GoodieBoxx. How you doing, bro?
Man, can't complain. What's happening, Kate?
Man, I appreciate you coming today, man.
Man, I appreciate the invite. Man, glad to be in the COSIGN law.
Hey, long overdue, so we here now. You know what I'm saying? But I personally know you, man. But for those who don't know you, kind of give us a rundown on who is Maxie Taylor.
All right. Well, Maxie Taylor. I'm a Texas native. I'm a father, technology entrepreneur. Been here in Dallas since about 2015. Man, the sole focus just trying to get this company GoodieBoxx off the ground. Man, stay down, loyal type of guy.
Nah, for sure. So let's do a little bit of your history before we get to today, right? So before GoodieBoxx, what were you into? What were you doing?
Man, a little bit of this, a little bit of that. Serial entrepreneur. Went to college at U of H. A little bit before that, dibble-dabble with party promotion.
Okay.
Sold this, sold that.
Yeah.
Legal, not legal, but found my way of making a way out of nothing.
Yeah. So, what was your first attempt at business? What model was it? What industry were you in? Your first go-to business?
Well, ironically, from my family, they had a kind of I'll call it a bodega. It's kind of like a mini kind of convenience store.
Right.
Grew up in the family. So as a kid, they had like a pool hall, different little things. So my first kind of venture was taking candy from there that I got in bulk and taking it to school and, making a little bit of change. I knew certain people couldn't have candy. So that, my first introduction to kind of seeing the opportunity to make money and kind of just opened my eyes, to be really honest.
For sure. And then that led you, years later, led you into entrepreneurship with GoodieBoxx, which is basically an automated retail experience.
Definitely. So a little bit of that. I didn't grow up even with that proximity, understanding like what an entrepreneur was, to be honest. So I worked my way up just with the traditional upbringing, come from a single family household. The instillment was, man, you gotta get a job, all that dreaming, trying to get a business. You need money to do that. It's always the story. So, worked my way up, reached that glass ceiling, in my corporate career, and took a prime opportunity to transition into entrepreneurship.
Oh wow! So you left corporate and wanted to be on your. What was the first thing after you left corporate that you dived into?
The first thing was GoodieBoxx.
Okay.
Dealing with commercial real estate, asset management, I was seeing firsthand like what people kind of call retail apocalypse, which is seeing how these big box stores are essentially going out of business. And I would go out and have, relationships with the owners of these properties, and they would always be telling me about their pain points. I'm having to pay this amount of mortgage, but I'm not, making revenue, so on and so forth. But it gave me a unique vantage point early, being able to engage with those people, convenience stores and stuff like that. So I thought just looking at apartments and how they were changing, I just saw a fine opportunity for me to take what I knew. Took my sunset notice, as I call it. They basically said, hey, we land you off this date.
Right.
Lunchtime, I'm doing my business plan, just planning it out, and just hit the ground running ever since.
Man, so right now you're on 2.0 at GoodieBoxx, but tell us about the first iteration. What was your MVP?
Our first MVP was, right here in Dallas in Victory Park. Right when they started doing redevelopment there and putting the apartments there, we put our flagship store right there. And the building is called the Appraiser right there, right in front of American Airlines Center. So the 1.0 was from the vantage point of vending. I saw the standard vending machine, but it only had like snacks and chips and stuff like that. And at the time, I had my son, and I was living in the building and between the garage and him. I was like, bro, I'm doing a lot.
Yeah.
How can I speed this up? And this was like really before big Amazon delivery boom and stuff like that. So it hit me. I walked by one vending machine that was on the property. And I was like, how can I change this up and make it more, products that are tailored to people that live like I live and are going through these problems. So just some research and trials and tribulations, created that first store and got it up and running and made some decent money off of it.
Not for sure. So essentially it's a tech company. So how'd you build that out? Like what all did it take to build 1.0 GoodieBoxx out?
So I reached out to like, first I saw the difference between like standard vending machines and what I wanted to do to dispense those products. And I found out, what I was looking for was a form of robotics.
Right.
So, of course, like I was saying briefly, I really read things that I'm fascinated with or trying to understand better. So immediately began like almost an obsession with robotics, how this works. Right. So I found a manufacturer that manufactured an axis of robotics that would push and pull. That was like the first part. So essentially that was like the guts inside of the box that I was trying to build. So I found that manufacturer, solidified that relationship, and created that design. And then I needed to find the box to put it in. And so that was a whole nother part. So I had to figure that out, find that manufacturer, solidify that relationship. Took some time. So we got that first installation and flagship in 2015. Okay. So that work took me from like early or mid 2013. So it took about 2 years to actually build one and get one done. So combination of finding the right tools and what I needed, it took about 2 years to do.
So essentially it's two different manufacturers. So you got the base robotics part and then you got the box part, right?
Exactly.
So who combined those together?
That was me. So my first time, understanding it, trying to understand what was in my head and what I saw. My main goal was trying to put it in these coordinates. So it was most of the apartments that I saw, they had these vending nooks or what we call kind of alcoves. Right. So I said, okay, it needed to be, this 7 foot in height, about 2.5 foot in depth was what I was focusing on. So I got myself in a warehouse, put together these parts, had some other people that, were good with welding and stuff that I could hire freelance, and then created that flagship. Took some time, but yeah, myself and trial and error, got it up and created it.
Man, that's crazy. So, I'm not coming from that background, so I'm just looking in, probably like our audience as well. So mass producing or producing a couple of these, as testers can be expensive, right? Mm-hmm. So did you did you do all this yourself or did you raise capital to help you with GoodieBoxx, or what route did you go to for funding?
Man, my first route is that, I didn't have any capital other than my own. That corporate career ladder, it helped me early on. Forget what age I was at that point, but was trailing. My last position was, vice president in banking, so my salary was decent there. But at that time, culturally wasn't a good fit, so I just started saving money, stacking, knowing that I wanted to transition with this opportunity. So yeah, man, my first piece of money that I threw into the business, put in like 75, 80 bands to, create the concept, about 40 of that, which it took, and then about 40 to market it, which was my initial, influx of capital that I put in, and it got me going.
That's what's up. Another thing I've seen, bro, is you've been amazing at being a part of like the Dallas business culture, man. Can you talk to us about some things you've done? Because I feel like you maybe won some grants or maybe some pitch competitions. Talk to us about that.
Oh, man, for sure. Man, shout out to the Dallas Entrepreneur Center, that network, and specifically the Redbird Entrepreneur Center. Right. Being I live in the southern state of Dallas, I felt like just coming here, I see the disparity between the divide in North and South. So ultimately, I just felt my spirit. I feel like I'm an underdog as it is, or out to, defy the odds is, just naturally in my spirit. So connecting with, those resources there, Redbird Entrepreneur Center introduced me to the Dallas network of, entrepreneur resources. That led me into getting affiliated with one of the larger groups here in Texas, the Capital Factory. Right. That's also a part of, investment and resources for entrepreneurs to scale their businesses. So just getting on the ground before pre-COVID, it's a lot of networking opportunities. So in a lot of people's faces, telling them about what I'm doing, honestly trying to figure the culture out. Right. I think like myself and others, we hear from the outside looking in, venture capital, what does it take to get this? You need mentors. So man, I was hearing it, reading about it. So I seeing it was here in Dallas. I'm out in the streets trying to get to anybody that was talking about that and open those doors for me and, others that are doing the same.
For sure. So is GoodieBoxx now backed by venture capital?
We aren't yet, but I say that to say that we're having the conversations.
Right.
But learning about what that entails is like, man, I'm giving away equity early for, essentially selling a piece of my company that I worked hard for, and the terms they feel a little aggressive.
Right.
So at the moment, I don't necessarily need the money. So
Yes.
I'm waiting until that opportunity feels right, and then we'll maybe explore it then. But yeah, definitely having some healthy conversations.
Nah, definitely. So do you think venture capital is for every business, or do you think, man, it's helpful, but at the same time it can be harmful as well? What's your perspective on it?
To be honest, the stats don't lie and the data don't lie. Venture capital is an amazing asset class, should I say, but it's very small. And what I'm saying that to say is that they're investing in certain types of technology.
Right.
If not, it shouldn't be on the radar or an interest for all types of business. All types of businesses don't need venture capital, but the success at the moment of the headlines a lot of people see are aligning with technology. Software has been advantageous so far, but for my category, I would be almost considered hardware. So like software is getting funded, but hardware gets funded too, but not at the same magnitude. It's a whole different set of metrics,
Right.
whole different ballgame.
So for somebody looking to get, backed by venture capital or raise money, what do you think is a comfortable amount of equity they need to be willing to part with, like be able to give to the investors, without saying like, all right, man, I feel like I'm giving them my soul?
I would say each circumstance is different, but ideally, you have to think when you're giving up equity, have to look at both sides of the table. If people are investing in your business and going to continue to invest in your business, you have to, save some meat on the bone is what I'm saying. So 20% is maybe the ideal seed or initial stage that you're giving up with. But think, that 20%, if you got a co-founder, they may have another 20%, and that's all divvying up that pie. So saying you got to have another meat on the bone in hopes of continuing to raise money, it dilutes you every time that you raise money. So holding on to that equity and negotiating that is a science and an art. But 20% is decent to get you started, and other goals as you continue to grow and hopefully reach that exit.
Nah, for sure, man. Offline, we're talking about actually conducting business and having transactions, man. Where do you feel like people? Let's talk about minorities in general, man. We think about the dollars a lot, or trying to create something. But where do you think people lack at when it comes to doing business? I see a lot of people on social media, but then it's like, man, do you know your numbers? Do you know your back end? You know what I'm saying? So what advice would you give them to actually conduct business in this state?
Conducting business, man, I would say the difference, or what I see, I think a lot of people are maybe passionate and, what's the right word, allured to what entrepreneurship affords. But, saying that to say is that, no slight, but I don't think people really understand what goes on to run a business, not, any kind of business. Your pizza shop on the corner is going to take a certain level of detail. Technology companies going to require a certain level of detail, meaning that, man, it's certain layers of business. If you're a CEO, you're the face. You're out raising money, making sure everybody is fed. That means like everything. That means the lights, the water, salaries, and that's a whole new role. But I feel like we're kind of, fetishizing what an entrepreneur is and access, and think we're doing business by talking business. But man, it's meetings, it's long hours. It ain't no 9 to 5. It's life at the end of the day. So
No, for sure, man. So man, how did you really learn all of this? Because like us growing up, man, we may come from a different culture. We see people, being successful. But then it's not, we don't have mentors. You know what I'm saying? We don't have somebody walking us in and telling us how X, Y, and Z goes. So like, where did you learn all your business acumen and all your tips and tricks to get to where you are at today?
Foundationally, man, I kind of shadow studied my grandfather. Nothing major, but some of his principles, I think, just kind of gave me grounds to understanding, hey, I could run a business, a small business, small real estate, entrepreneur, invested in certain types of small homes, manage them, so on and so forth. So they gave me the proximity to understanding, okay, this is somebody doing something different other than the street guys and other people that we grew up and had the proximity with. But just really being a student and a researcher, I think ultimately gave me a lot of the information. I went to school for business, but it was a lot of reading on nothing that equipped me to what we actually have to do here. So researching and learning other people's struggles and things that they have, communicated vocally, gave me a unique vantage point on what not to do. So that helped out with learning. But ultimately, the best teacher that I've had is getting out here, spending my own money, learning from trial and error, fixing it, and getting on down the road, to be really, really frank.
Nah, dope, man. So where do you see GoodieBoxx, in 2021? Like, where do you see it going in the future? Because I've seen you got a lot of great stuff coming, 2.0, but like, what's the next phase of it?
For us, 2.0, we've been delaying it for months and months. COVID's uncertainty and what we can do as far as legislation easing that. So for us, we definitely will be raising a seed around here this year and introducing 2.0 more than likely in the spring, maybe summer. Hopefully nothing gets too weird here, but that's immediate for us.
Yeah. So what can people find in GoodieBoxx now? Though, like, let's say they do have it at the location or they run upon it. What kind of types of products can we see?
Man, toiletries, feminine hygiene products, stuff that you hate to run out of, everything that's not snacks or chips. Surprisingly, ahead of COVID and going into COVID, man, we really got success with a lot of CBD products. So we actually put pre-rolls in machines, topicals, other stuff. So man, that's been really our bread and butter. Electronics, iPhone chargers, stuff that people be like, man, I left it, I ran out of it. I hate to go to the store. I don't want to wait for delivery. We try to provide, put it in the box.
And so so the business model of GoodieBoxx, right? Do you sell each individual, or do you own all of them, or do you franchise? Like, how do you do? Do you lease them to other buildings, or how does that work?
I own all 15 GoodieBoxx locations at the moment, but we are exploring a franchise in the Austin market. I have 2 franchisees that are, up and running and learning and training for that. So we're exploring that avenue. It's just something that we're testing. What we really do is that we come to apartments, high traffic locations, and offer them an amenity, no upfront cost, and give them a portion of the revenue. So it's us, saying you're underutilizing this space. Let me give you a piece of our revenue in exchange for that real estate.
So basically, you provide all the inventory, everything out there. Okay. And do you partner with companies for the inventory, or is that just something you get wholesale, put it in yourself, and then just mark up?
We have done both, but as going in 4 or 5 years, year 4, we will start analyzing a lot of the data, figuring out what was selling and what wasn't. So at that point, we began to private label a lot of those products. So if deodorant was selling versus putting Right Guard in there, I'm creating my own. We got a brand called The Goods, is what we've been putting out there low key. So everything that's been decent, we've been slowly but surely increasing the margins and introducing into the box.
So really, y'all on some Nipsey Hussle vertical integration.
Vertical integration, yes sir. But think of it like, Trader Joe's or, Aldi in a box, that kind of business model.
Because you're providing distribution, and then you're seeing that, what's selling. So now you can create your own product, distribute your own product, market.
Absolutely.
Your own product. Now that's a great idea, man. I love what you're doing. Before we wrap up, man, last but not least, bro, I kind of want to know, who was the first person that co-signed you in business? You know what I'm saying? Like, we always have that one person, like, man, I believe what you're doing. You know what I'm saying? They may have provided, it could have been something minuscule, like just like providing you some extra information. But like, who was the first person that may have seen your business acumen and want to help and support you?
Man, 2 parts. I don't know if you really remember in COSIGN magazine, you actually gave me one of my first ads through, the homie brand fiend, Jesse.
Yeah, I remember that was like 16, 17, bro. It was early, huh?
Right, so that was one of my first times getting, visibility and advertisement there. But also too, just throughout, I mentioned networking. I actually, tapped Craig Lewis on the shoulder in one of the, events. He kind of pulled me to the side and said, man, you just need more attention and advertising on your business. So he was able to facilitate something. So he was one of the first here locally kind of see what I was doing and start the media trail for me. So.
Nah, it's dope. And last but not least, bro, leave us with like either a quote, affirmation, or something motivational, man, that you live by or that you read every day, or something that just keeps you going.
Man, let me think on that one. Something to chew on.
Yeah, man, that's I kind of like throw that one in there because you think we're always going, we're always grinding, moving, hustling, researching. So it's like, man, for me, one of mine is you miss 100% of the shots you don't take.
For sure.
What I'm saying? So
Definitely.
with me having like a fear of rejection, I'm like, bro, I'm not gonna be successful if I don't shoot.
Exactly.
So that just keeps me pushing, keeps me asking, you know what I'm saying? And those no's fuel me to finally get a yes. You know
I would say, man, mine is, man, stay down, put the work in, the money will come.
Yeah. Man, that's real, the money will come.
The money will come.
I do feel a lot of people focus on the money first, you know what I'm saying? Like,
that's a whole other conversation. It's, maybe a slight, not really, but I think a lot of us, just expounding the previous conversation that we were having, it's like I feel like a lot of us in this space are looking at venture capital as like a savior, when ultimately it's gas for the tank, meaning that if we're building something that doesn't require a lot of initial capital, the goal is to make money, man. Do numbers, get it out there, get users, whatever you can before looking at that VC to throw money at it, because they're gonna have some sharky, some weird terms. They're gonna try to take everything. Do numbers, stay down, do the work, man. The money will come.
Man, it'll definitely come, man. And y'all got some gems today. I appreciate your time, bro.
Appreciate you having me.
Look,
for sure.
I look forward to seeing what's next in GoodieBoxx, man, and definitely supporting. And we here COSIGN, always COSIGN you, bro.
For sure.
So make sure y'all tap in to GoodieBoxx.com. It's 2 X's on box, and continue living the COSIGN life.